The hidden obsession. Why white men secretly copy black women. Let's take it back to the year 1843. A white man walks on stage wearing blackface, a wig, and a dress. He sways his hips, mocks a dialect, and belts out a tune written in the style of African American spirituals. The audience roars. They call it entertainment. But what they're watching is a mockery, a caricature of a black woman performed by a white man for white applause. His name was George Christie, and he was one of the earliest known white male performers to profit off of impersonating a black woman on stage. The character was called Miss Lucy Long, and Christie was hailed as the first to do the wench business, minstrel slang for playing a sexualized black woman in drag. George was one of the earliest obsessions with black women. It was really disturbing. This was no isolated act. By the mid-1800s, performers like Rollin Howard and Francis Leon, also white men, were dressing in blackface and performing exaggerated versions of black femininity across the country. Crowds laughed. Theater owners got rich. The template was set. Scope News decided to investigate a question no one wants to ask. Why have so many white men, for over 200 years, built careers, personas, and fortunes by copying the very essence of black women, while the real women behind that energy were erased? What we found was disturbing. Because while black women were called aggressive, vulgar, and unladylike, white men were mimicking their voices, their swag, their attitude, and getting standing ovations for it. From the minstrel stage, to the drag show, to the YouTube era, this wasn't just flattery. This was theft. Professional, systematic, profitable theft. And the deeper you go, the clearer the pattern becomes. By the late 1800s, one of the most enduring symbols of American branding, Aunt Jemima, began as a minstrel act. The song Old Aunt Jemima was performed by men in blackface and dresses. One version of the act reportedly featured a white man in drag. That image was later rebranded, softened, and turned into a billion-dollar pancake empire. But its origins were in performance. A white man playing a black woman for laughs, for claps, and eventually for cash. This didn't stop in the 1800s, it evolved. By the time the 1960s arrived, black women had already shaped the soul of American music. But the spotlight wasn't on them. It was on the white men who copied their moves and rode their rhythm into superstardom. Take Mick Jagger, lead singer of the Rolling Stones. He didn't invent stage presence, he studied it, specifically from Tina Turner. He openly admitted watching her footwork, her confidence, her power. She showed him how to command a stage. When they toured together, she became his movement coach. But while Tina Turner bled on that stage, Jagger was praised as an icon of rock charisma. Jagger also had a relationship with Marsha Hunt, a black American singer and activist. They had a daughter together in 1970. Around the same time, he wrote one of the Rolling Stones' most controversial songs, originally titled Black PU.Y, rhymes with Tootsie, later renamed Brown Sugar. The lyrics reference slavery, sexualized black women, and racial fetishization. The world called it edgy, but it was exploitation set to music. When Mick Jagger rolled his hips and strutted across stages around the globe, nobody called it a tribute. They called it revolutionary, and no one asked where it came from. Then there's Elvis Presley. Elvis didn't just sing black music. He performed it the way black women had already been doing for decades, with raw emotion, full-body passion, and a spiritual energy rooted in the black church. If you've ever seen a Pentecostal woman catch the Holy Ghost, then you've already seen the blueprint for Elvis's stage presence. But here's the part America avoids. In 1952, Big Mama Thornton recorded Hound Dog. Her voice was electric, a growl, a belt, a punch of soul no one could deny. But when Elvis re-recorded it in 1956, the industry cleaned it up, stripped it of its grit, and sold it back to America with a twist of his hips. His version made millions. Hers barely paid rent. When Big Mama Thornton died in 1984, she was alone, sick, and nearly penniless. While Elvis's family lived in Graceland and his estate became a tourist empire, Big Mama's name faded into footnotes. This is the cost of being the origin. She didn't just lose royalties, she lost legacy. Meanwhile, the men who copied her, in sound, in soul, in stagecraft, became household names. It didn't stop there. Pat Boone took Little Richard's Tutti Frutti and watered it down into a white-friendly product. Boone got the airplay. Little Richard got called too wild. But the truth was, Little Richard moved like a black woman tired of being polite. The makeup, the scream, the divine chaos. It wasn't effeminate, it was electric. And white America wasn't ready to credit that energy, so they handed the mic to Boone instead. David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust persona? Look closely, and you'll find echoes of 1960s black drag performers from Harlem balls, the same ones society mocked, criminalized, and ignored. The exaggerated gestures, the commanding softness, the gender play. Bowie got fashion spreads. The black queens who did it first got jail time. Then there's Jeffree Star, a YouTuber who built an empire mimicking black women's expression. The slang, the neck rolls, the dramatics. He used the same voice black girls get mocked or fired for. And when the accusations of racism hit, he called it a persona. But this isn't just about stolen style, it's about stolen meaning. The Red Hot Chili Peppers made a career out of funk rock riffs pulled straight from black musical legacies. The bass lines, the vocal patterns, the crescendos. David Grohl himself once said he used percussion from the Gap Band as the inspiration for a Nirvana bass line. No credit, no publishing, just a passing mention. The very sound that once pulsed through black clubs, sweaty dance halls, and Southern jukes had been rebranded into MTV hits, scrubbed clean and stripped of context. The Gap Band didn't just write hooks, they wrote history. And history was rewritten in white ink. So why black women? Because black women have always embodied it all. It was the full spectrum of expression. Bold, loud, sensual, divine, theatrical, funny, gritty, and spiritual. That power was punished when they showed it, but praised when white men copied it. White society let these men get rich off a performance of femininity that black women were never allowed to fully own. And it didn't stop with music. On the drag stage, white performers built entire personas off black women's language, timing, and rhythm. They won Emmys, got makeup deals, landed Netflix specials. Meanwhile, the women they imitated still got labeled ghetto when they walked into work with the same voice. They didn't just steal mannerisms, they stole opportunity. Let's talk about money. Elvis became a millionaire. Mick Jagger lives in mansions. Pat Boone retired rich. Justin Timberlake and Robin Thicke made their fortunes remixing black sound. Jeffree Star built an empire on black woman mimicry. And through it all, the women whose spirit powered those movements, whose voices, bodies, and brilliance shaped culture, got told they were too much. This isn't coincidence, it's a pattern. A machine. Because what America calls authenticity is often just blackness, wearing a white mask. They laughed at black women, then copied them, then got paid, and for that, we will never forget. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. White men have been profiting off the performance of black femininity since at least the 1800s. George Christie, Rollin Howard, and Francis Leon all impersonated black women in minstrel shows. Aunt Jemima originated in white male blackface performance. Mick Jagger credited Tina Turner. Elvis mimicked the movement of black women. Big Mama Thornton recorded Hound Dog before Elvis and died poor. Pat Boone covered Little Richard. Jeffree Star built his persona off exaggerated black womanhood. Red Hot Chili Peppers borrowed from the Gap Band. And black women, the original source, are still too often denied credit, profit, or protection. Legal disclaimer. This Scope News report is intended for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. All references to individuals, brands, and historical events are based on publicly available sources and cultural commentary. This report includes critical analysis and opinion grounded in research. Viewer discretion is advised. Scope News aims to reflect historical truth to the best of our ability, while recognizing limitations in available evidence, media coverage, and licensing restrictions.